Imagine converting 10,000 acres of Aravalli Mountains into a world-class jungle safari. Sounds very interesting, right? But this has also made a lot of controversy, especially amongst the entire people of the nation. Even for that matter, forest officials and environmentalists have raised their voices. In fact, written direct letter to the Prime Minister to on this particular matter. Welcome to Believers IAS Academy, and this is Madan Gopal. So in this today's video, we will understand what the project is all about, and we will also understand the controversy in the issue, and also going forward we will also try and analyze as to what the stand should be, being an aspirant who is trying to see this from the UPSC's point of view. So let's begin the session today. What is this project all about? So the Aravalli Jungle Safari Project is initiated by the Haryana government, and if you want to look at the nook and corners of the project, it is covering 10,000 acres obviously, and this is spread across Gurugram and Nuh districts of the Haryana state. So of course all these intricate details are not required, but for the sake of understanding, we will be seeing all this. So it is developed in 4 phases within 2,500 acres in the first phase. And of course, on papers, it claims that this is to promote green tourism, very important terminology. And also, this is a move that even tries to conserve wildlife. And recently, the Chief Minister of Haryana and even the Minister of the Environment has, paid visit to Vantara Jungle Safari, Vantara Jungle Safari in Jamnagar, in order to try and probably understand, how this particular model should work. Because if you have not watched, or let's say not, seen the videos of Vantara Jungle Resort, especially for the wildlife, animals, the rescue mission that the Reliance Group has come up with, you have to definitely watch that video, and probably that gives you an idea as to what Haryana government is thinking, that it will try and replicate the same or not. So of course we will not get into that issue about the Vantara wildlife conservation program and all of that. We will just stick to the issue. So first we will understand what the controversy is all about. As I already mentioned, 37 retired Indian Forest Service officers have already written letter to the minister, the Prime Minister, urging him to actually scrap the project. And what are the arguments? They're just saying, or let's say they're claiming that it is not, the agenda is to not conserve, but to just increase the tourist footfall. And also they are arguing that this could damage the fragile Aravalli ecosystem. In fact, if you try and understand the importance of Aravalli system to the Indian subcontinent, it is very, very, very important. So I hope you all know the formation of how the Aravalli mountains were formed. And now if you see the location wise, Aravalli hills, exactly the mountains, is somewhere near this part of India. And now geographically it is very important, because this is like a barrier that actually protects the Thar desert, which is there in the Rajasthan region, from entering the eastern, let's say, or the eastern movement of the Thar desert is actually being stopped or blocked by the Thar desert. By the Aravalli mountains. And even for that matter, the Aravalli mountains play a very important role in controlling the climate system, or let's say the climate conditions of this particular region, including rainfall, especially in areas like Nainital, Shimla, right? So you have to understand the importance of Aravalli mountain system, and knowing that, you will also can directly relate to what this issue is, because of course from this issue's point of view, it directly damages the biological ecosystem there. So if you see, Aravalli Mountains. Of course, we will not go too much in detail with respect to what Aravalli Mountains is and all of that. Of course, if you want a video, you could just definitely ask in the comment section, and we will make a video on that. So let's come back to the issue here. So the major argument is it will damage the ecosystem of Aravalli Mountains. Fine. So, but still, from the UPSC's point of view, right? From the UPSC's point of view, it is important for you to understand the controversy, but also not, actually directly get into the controversy, because it should act like a feeder for your means. No matter what you study, ultimately at the end of the day, you're making or grasping these contents for your preliminary examination and also for your mains examination. So now why are we understanding the controversy? Because that way you will actually get to know the holistic picture of the issue. And since this is completely backed by all the negative arguments, or let's say it is backed by the Indian Forest Service officials themselves, so it kind of becomes important for you to know as well. Now, what is the UPSC's dimension, UPSC's angle to this issue? So this is a very great example to understand the conflict between development and environmental protection, and this forms the key issue under GS paper 3, which is your environment, sustainable development and conservation. So of course we have tried and understood the controversy. Now it is also important that we also, from the examination point of view, we have to try and understand the benefits and the major concerns of this particular initiative. So what are the potential benefits then? Of course, it boosts ecotourism and employment. It helps in creating more green zone in the polluted national capital region, and also it states that infrastructure development in the underdevelopment districts like Nuh. Of course, the district, district in Haryana that we spoke about in the beginning, it kind of supplements that the infrastructure development. The particular project will help in improving the infrastructure development in that particular district. And now, what are the major concerns? Risk of greenwashing, by saying that we will definitely conserve the natural habitat. We will ensure that we will take steps in order to conserve the biodiversity, but also masking commercial tourism as ecotourism in order to make money, in order to completely utilize the Aravalli mountain range, or let's say the project, into commercial tourism. Maybe they are trying to greenwash it. So that is what this particular point explains. And next one, violation of eco-sensitive zone. So now what is eco-sensitive zone? Eco-sensitive zone are those zones which are at the proximity of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. And this proximity that I'm talking about is 10 kilometers. So the 10-kilometer area adjoining to any particular wildlife sanctuary or your national parks, we call them, or we classify them as economic sensitive zones. So what happens in economic sensitive zones? Basically, there are few permitted activities, there are few regulated activities, and then there are few which are completely prohibited. Now use the comment section to tell me what are the permitted activities and what are the prohibited, and then also probably what are the regulated. And last two, lack of transparency in environmental impact assessment. This is also very important. One of the major concern is that it states that there is no transparency with respect to what the environment EIA report states, because EIA, environmental impact assessment, gives an idea about a particular project's intention. So in fact, if we understand EIA, they classify certain projects under category A, which is, let's say, of that particular importance, where the central government has to approve for it, provided it is causing more harm to the biodiversity. And then we have category B, which just requires state's nod. So let's not go there, but this point sufficiently explains what the agenda is. And also there is another angle to it as well, because being a bureaucrat, it is very important to see things from the policy making perspective as well, and also from the UPSC ethics point of view. Maybe this could be a a question in one of the ethics paper. So the questions basically, what are the things that would come from this angle, from the ethics point of view. So development in ecologically fragile zones, just because it brings short-term benefits, points to think, are we being ethically accountable to future generations? And are we being ethically accountable to future generations? How can we ensure sustainable use of natural resources? You can directly connect this to SDG goals and then probably enunciate your answer. So basically these are the dimensions of this particular topic that you can think for the UPSC's examinations point of view. So now, main mudda, mains answer writing practice. So what if there is a question in the mains examination or probably in the test series which goes like this: green tourism can promote conservation but only if planned sustainably. Discuss with reference to the recent examples. So of course this question is framed from the topic that we are discussing about. So now, what should the answer look like? Of course, you have to write an intro, a body, conclusion, before that, way forward. So intro will definitely have a definition, should have a definition as to what green tourism is, because first and foremost thing, you have to try and understand the agenda of the question, the requirement of the question, and then start writing answers. So intro will have the definition of green tourism alongside linking it to sustainability. You can use or mention the SDG goals as well. In fact, the SDG reports have been recently released. So we have also another video on SDG reports that we have recently covered. It will be mentioned in the description box below, so you can just go check the videos on the SDG goals as well. Like if you want to understand more about SDG, you can check that video. We will not discuss further. And after the intro, the body, the main body. So since the question is about the recent example, the very recent example that we can think of as the Aravalli project. So directly it doesn't, or let's say it is not asking about the Aravalli project, but since it is asking, since this statement came, green tourism can promote conservation but only if planned sustainably, you have to draw inclination with respect to the current affairs, thinking that it is this topic that the examiner is trying to ask. So now, attempting this, we have to, in the body section, we have to write a small description about the Aravalli project. And keep in mind, while doing this, you're not writing about the Aravalli mountains, or let's say one line is fine, but not completely about the Aravalli mountain system. It is a fold mountain system, it spans 670 kilometers, one of the oldest mountains. No, just write about the project and then mention all the pros and cons of the project that we discussed in the previous slide. And also to make it more inclusive, you can even add examples like one that I've mentioned here, Kaziranga's ecotourism balance, which kind of gives more feeder in order to understand how a particular program should be taken forward, especially when you tamper with the ecosystem, or if you want to meddle with the environment. And also you can even mention the Vantara model as well. So then later, afterwards, it's the way forward. Of course, we will discuss the way forward. We have understood the issue. We have understood the controversy. We have even discussed the pros and cons of this particular issue. And we will also discuss the way forward. But since this is about answer writing, yeah, this is one thing that you have to write. And at the conclusion, which, holistically talks about how sustainable development should not be, at the cost of, your ecosystem being punished. So that should be your conclusion. And in fact, I think maybe, this can be used for answer writing. Interested students can write answers. Probably we will post the model answer tomorrow. So yeah, talking about the way forward. So how can this policy be made more responsible? So that is what the way forward should be. Because so far, the initiative hasn't actually, went any further. But since you are preparing for civil services and being a civil servant, at the end of the day you're only taking policies. So probably this gives you, or let's say thinking this way, it kind of helps you think more from the officer's point of view. So here are some of the policy ideas. One is they have to conduct a very rigorous environmental impact assessment with independent expert review, because one of the major con was that the EIA report wasn't transparent. And also they have to ensure to declare certain parts of the Aravalli Mountains as economic sensitive zones, as it would kind of help the ecosystem, or let's say the nearby areas, especially the most important areas in and around Aravalli Mountains, to be safe. And in order to also ensure over exploitation of resources doesn't happen, and also ensure community participation, especially locals and tribals. Avoid artificial structures, because mostly the focus should be on habitat restoration. And last but not the least, promote low impact tourism, nature trails, research, conservation and education, nothing else. No hot air balloons, or let's say no elephant rides. So that's what the point actually mentions. So that's all for this particular video. We have tried and understood the issue. We have tried and understood the controversy behind the topic. We have discussed the pros and cons, and also we have discussed the policy suggestions. And what do you think at the end? So at the cost of environment and the cost of losing natural biodiversity, is this project a very bold move from the government, just like Vantara, or is it a lion in the sheep's clothing? Just it's all about environment, or let's say development versus environment. So what is the major takeaway? Anyway, that's all for today's video. So for more such informative content, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon, and also make sure you like the video as well. Thank you.